There are just some days that you can't really forget. And I recall that it was 2 days after Thanksgiving that I found myself in Havana, Cuba. Now, I was visiting with my dearest friend, Diana Fitzgerald, who's also my attorney. And we had a great Thanksgiving in Miami. And we decided the following day to do something that both of us were curious about, and that was to visit Cuba. So we found a guy in Miami that arranged the paperwork for the visa, whatever it was called. We went to see him. We paid a fee. He hit it with a stamp and just said to be at Miami International Airport in the morning, and there'd be an Air Havana flight that would take us there. And so we went. There was nothing to do with the government. We didn't want a dog and pony show of being led around with other tourists. We really wanted to be able to see as much of the place as we could. And I believe that we did. When we got there, we became friends with the driver and, explained to him that we wanted to go off the beaten road. We wanted to see what it was really like for the Cubans, how they lived. And we became friends, so much so that before the trip ended, he invited us to his house or apartment where he lived with his sister and father, I believe. There were 3 rooms. And I'm going to put some photos up here so you can see what a typical Cuban family might live off. The real reason I wanted to go to Havana, and I was there, by the way, the night that Fidel Castro died. You don't forget that. I was there to see what life would be like in a truly classless society, where nobody had much more or less than the other person, where being driven by the holy dollar was not the issue. There was no need to break into somebody's house and steal a black and white television because you owned the same black and white television that the person next to you lived in. One of the things that I was impressed with, of course, is that Castro's regime saw to it that there would be free medical care for all of its citizens. The University of Havana produces some of the most brilliant students to come out of any university in Latin America. Everybody's guaranteed a job. You work for the government, and the government pays you about $33 a month. That's the average income of Cubans. There were some downsides, of course. It is a communist country. There is no free speech. You can't say anything negative about the government in power. If you did, there were severe consequences. It's a country that's been cited many times for human rights violations. We know all that. I was just reflecting today, post-Thanksgiving, of whether or not I formed an opinion about a so-called classless society. In the wake, of course, of a time in our country where there is 1% of the country that right now is rolling in the hay, and the rest are in financial difficulties. I didn't come away with an exact answer, and this is not a diatribe, of course, about classless societies. But the concept of surrendering your ability to speak freely and to only get your information through one approved state media, and really not to be able to leave the country, Well, how many of you would be willing to explore such a society? Really?